there, movie fans. Welcome to a brand new episode of Rank and File. I'm your host, Scott Movie Mantz. On each installment of Rank and File, I take all the films in a film series and I rank them from worst to best. This episode, we're going to rank all the films in the Terminator series, which has been going, I don't know if I would say going strong, but it's definitely been going since 1984 with the most recent installment in 2019. So let's get right to it with number 6 on the list. That would be Terminator Genisys. Directed by Alan Taylor, release date July 1st, 2015. The cost is $155 million. Domestic gross only $90 million. The worldwide gross is $440 million. It's all about the worldwide gross here. Rotten Tomatoes score is 27%. This movie started off pretty great with this awesome scene at the observatory, Arnold versus Arnold. And from there, it quickly turned into a mess with all these different timelines, all these different realities. And it was overwritten. It was convoluted. It was way too confusing. It was filled with explanation and exposition. Everything was being explained while the movie was going along, and it still didn't make a lick of sense. It felt like the Back to the Future Part 2 of the Terminator series, and I don't mean that in a good way. Moving up to number 5 on the list, it's Terminator Salvation, directed by Mick G. Came out on May 21st, 2009. Cost is $200 million. Worldwide gross, $371 million. Rotten Tomatoes score is 33%. This is the first Terminator film to take place after Judgment Day. It's also the first Terminator film to take place without Arnold, or at least without Arnold as a main character. We do see him for a bit in a really cool scene. Skynet is up and running. John Connor is played by Christian Bale. Kyle Reese is played by Anton Yelchin. This is a pretty straightforward, post-apocalyptic sci-fi thriller that felt way too conventional and derivative for its own good. It's all action, but no heart, no humor, and one-dimensional stock characters. It's a dull, one-note movie. Moving up to number 4 on the list, that would be Terminator Dark Fate, directed by Tim Miller. Release date November 1st, 2019. Cost is $185 million. Domestic gross only $62 million. Worldwide gross $261 million. That's pretty low. Rotten Tomatoes score is 70%. I'm surprised it was that high. I found Terminator Dark Fate to be kind of a mixed bag. I liked that they told the story with a mostly female bent and a very diverse cast. But otherwise, it was once again a rehash of the same old story. It felt like a combination of the first 2 films. It didn't feel different enough, despite the fact that you have Linda Hamilton back as Sarah Connor for the first time in 28 years since Terminator 2 Judgment Day. But I just felt like I expected more from director Tim Miller, who did such a great job of giving the superhero genre a massive shot of adrenaline with Deadpool. Arnold T-800 was all domesticated in this film. You know, he had a wife, he had a kid, he was settled down wearing a flannel shirt, and it was kind of silly. It didn't really work for me after Terminator 2. All the sequels have tried to do a different job of dancing around the same old story. But it just gets very, very tiresome. And after a while, you want to see something that's fresh and new and really, really different. And because despite the mostly positive reviews for Terminator Dark Fate, it did underperform at the box office. And this came out just recently in 2019. So just getting the sense that people just don't care about seeing any more new Terminator films, at least until they figure out a way to do something really different. Moving up to number 3 on the list is Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, directed by Jonathan Mostow. Release date July 2nd, 2003. Cost is $187 million. Domestic gross is $150 million. Worldwide gross $433 million. Rotten Tomatoes score is 69%. This was a big surprise. I really enjoyed Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines a lot more than I expected to. This movie is a lot better than it probably deserves to be, coming 12 years after Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which was such a great movie, and we'll get to that in a second. But Jonathan Mostow, the director, did a great job. He didn't try to top what James Cameron did. He just tried to make his own movie, a solid, fun action movie that stood on its own merits and was worthy of the Terminator brand. And I think that he did a great job. He succeeded. It's a focused movie. It gets the job done. Nick Stahl and Claire Danes, great additions to the cast. Really great addition as the TX, really giving Arnold a run for his money and kicking his butt in hand-to-hand, head-to-head combat. Now, I recently did a poll with my Twitter followers trying to pick the best movie in the Alien series when I did an Alien rank and file, and it was pretty close. Alien taking the lead with 53% over 47% for Aliens. I still went with Aliens as the #1 movie, but I was faced with a similar dilemma for Terminator and Terminator 2, two movies that I love equally for different reasons. So once again, I went on Twitter to ask, which movie do you love more? And once again, I got more than 2,500 votes. This time, the winner was unanimous. Terminator 2 Judgment Day winning by a very, very wide margin with 77% over 23% for the original Terminator. So that brings us to #2 on the list. What movie did I go with? Are you ready? Here it is. Yes, I went with The Terminator, directed by James Cameron. Release date October 26, 1984. Cost is $6.4 million. Domestic gross $38.4 million. Worldwide gross $78.5 million. Rotten Tomatoes score is 100%. And boy, does it deserve to be. This movie goes a long way on a low budget. Not only did it make Arnold Schwarzenegger a household name, it also made director James Cameron a household name. This movie is scrappy and gritty. It is also groundbreaking, and it is a visionary film. It influenced so many other sci-fi movies that followed. It's pretty straightforward, takes itself pretty seriously. It's also really violent. Some of the scenes where the machine kills the other Sarah Connors, even by today's standards, it's pretty disturbing. But also the attack scene at the police station where he kills an entire precinct, basically. Arnold Schwarzenegger was never more physically ripped than he was when he made the first Terminator in 1984, and really showing him as a bad guy. He was a bad guy. He was still just kind of getting into the acting thing. This movie really is a love story between Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese. But the Terminator, he just is relentless. He just keeps coming, and he shows no remorse whatsoever. Of course, you have iconic dialogue here, like, "You're terminated, effer," I'm not going to say the actual word. And of course, the catchphrase that basically made Arnold Schwarzenegger's career in the 80s and the early 90s, "I'll be back." So that leaves us with #1 on the list of the greatest Terminator film of all time. That would be Terminator 2 Judgment Day, directed by James Cameron. Release date July 3rd, 1991. Cost is $102 million. Domestic gross $206 million. Worldwide gross $521 million. That's in 1991. Rotten Tomatoes score is 93%. It is still impressive by today's standards. It looks like it could have been made today. Groundbreaking visual effects, still really impressive and mind-blowing by today's standards. Arnold Schwarzenegger at the top of his career, not only after action films like Predator and Total Recall, but also family-friendly comedies like Twins and Kindergarten Cop. So you can't really have Arnold go back to killing innocent people without remorse. You got to make him the good guy, and that's what this movie did, as the Terminator is out to protect Sarah and John Connor. This movie has the perfect balance of action, of humor and heart when you see John Connor try to teach the machine how to be human, and the machine becomes like a father figure of sorts to John Connor. The arc of that character is really, really great. Amazing action sequences, iconic dialogue. Hasta la vista, baby. It doesn't get better than that. Also, Robert Patrick as the T-1000, a great foil for Arnold, practically indestructible. And, the time travel paradox is really great in this film, because if the original Terminator had not gone back in time to kill Sarah Connor, he would never have left behind the technology that allowed humans to create Skynet in the first place. Try wrapping your head around that. T2 Judgment Day is still fresh and vibrant, loads of fun, still watchable almost 30 years later. Terminator 2 Judgment Day is the best Terminator movie. So, how would you rank all 6 Terminator films? Comment below, list your rankings. Hit me up on Twitter at Movie Mantz and let me know what you thought of this episode of Rank and File. Let me know what other film series you would like to see me rank on Rank and File. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Movie Mantz. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Scott Mantz, so you can keep up to date on all my new postings, whether it's Rank and File or other film content. And please share Rank and File, and please like this YouTube video. That would really, really appreciate that. So until the next episode of Rank and File, I'll be back.